It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Agronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belgast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 387. Tonight I'm joined by Emo.
Hello.
Ashgar.
That's a big number.
Kodra.
The end is never the end, is never the end, is never the end.
Dalen.
The end.
Sorry we didn't have a show last week. I had some weather, and since I am usually the one that records and also the one that edits, like, that was just kind of a thing that came up and made it not work. So,
Yeah. Bell and I both live in Tornado Alley.
Yeah,
It's,
basically,
take these things seriously.
what I'm going through one day, Phelan's going through the next day.
Yep.
We are exactly one day apart in the weather. Yeah, like it was fine, but it could have easily not been fine. Yeah, we had things turn, and it was kind of heading for us, and then it wasn't all of a sudden. So, sigh of relief. We did the thing tonight where we started talking about things that we should probably talk about on the podcast. So, I have now played through all of Living World Season 5.
Yay. Welcome to Canada.
I if we were going to talk about this last week, I was going to talk about how much I like Drizzlewood.
Yeah, Drizzlewood's
You can still
great.
talk about that if you want. Drizzlewood's pretty excellent.
Drizzlewood is like this map that is possibly the most lucrative thing that ArenaNet has ever created.
But also it's just kind of
definitely.
fun.
But
It-
also,
it
like,
is-
so I guess the thing is I've been preparing myself like, oh, well, this is a thing people grind just because it has money. But no, like,
No, that's the Silver Wastes.
Drizzlewood is really fun. Like, it's a good map. It's basically Alterac Valley, but PvE.
Yeah, they basically took the World v. World like design of zone control and made a PvE zone that uses it.
And you just have PvP, you have PvE like mobs push back against various areas.
See, you've
Yeah.
got
They'll
two.
try to. They
You
never-
Mostly
basically
they
have
don't because players are good at it now, but
Be-
yes.
Well, because players are farming it for great lucrative resources, but
Well,
it's still very
so-
fun.
So, like, there's basically two NPC armies that are warring over a territory. You just happen to be supporting one of them. So, like, I mean, the NPCs will kind of fight if there's no players, but, like, it's not a good thing.
Well,
But
and if no players are around, like the other side will, over time, take back any zones that had been taken. Like basically various events happen once a zone has been taken, and if the events are failed, the morale of the player side goes down, and once the morale drops entirely, they pull out.
you're also, like, given rewards just like you get in World versus World, where, like, time spent in zone equals little packages that you get along the way.
If I remember correctly, what's in those packages is dependent on how much you hold.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Ah.
Yes, the types of packages are each associated with one of the holdings, and it's it's metal, wood, leather, cloth, trophies, the other thing.
But it's also silver waste too, in that every time you take an area, a bunch of chests spawn, and you have to buy keys to be able to open all the chests in the zone.
Yep.
And like if you take a significant enough area, like 15 chests will spawn. So it has the feel of Auric Basin to some extent too, but like every time you take an area, you get like a bunch of stuff.
Well, and also
I feel like
another one.
after Auric Basin, they got pretty good at designing that whole, hey, we designed a loot phase into this event.
Yes.
Well, and I mean, it's a feedback loop too, because like you need currency from doing stuff to buy the keys to get the loot.
Yep. And you can only buy so many keys at a given price level per day. You
Yep.
buy 5 keys at the cheapest price, your next 5 keys are at a more expensive price, and on and on. So, like, if you're running this enough, you will run yourself out of keys, and they'll be too expensive to buy.
Yeah, but if you're doing a lot of it though, you can buy the 500 gold or the 500 resource keys without much issue. Like,
Oh, sure.
you're gonna have plenty of supplies to be able to at least buy up to that point
Yeah,
every single day.
the salvage builds up, and now with the advent of turtles, you don't even need to worry about spending salvage on like siege weaponry.
Right. That's the big thing that I thought was really interesting is like normally you have to do the thing that you do in World versus World where you put down a siege weapon and you use it to battering ram down the gate so you can get into the area. But like if you've got a siege turtle, you just roll up and take out the gate.
Yep. Siege turtle will take down a gate in 2, maybe 3 hits.
Is that also true in PvP or
No.
You can't use them in
See-
World v. World.
Siege turtles don't exist in PvP. You only have the
War scale.
strike.
Which
whatever they
I
call it.
did just get the Warclaw. I did just get Warclaw last night. I was very excited.
That is such a quality of life improvement.
Yeah,
It's
now
not
I'm
massively faster than just running, but it is faster. So
Yeah.
Although I was in pretty good shape because I am a scrapper, and so I just am like, I'm just going to periodically hit my heal skill, and that gives me 10 seconds of super speed.
aha.
I think that is Warclaw speed.
It is Warclaw speed.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is
Yeah, in
why it's
fact-
very nice to be able to give Warclaw speed to your entire group in as part of a Zerg.
hmm
Yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of time being the only one without a mount, and it was kind of lousy.
Well, see also why I am grinding out this sky scale right now.
Yeah,
Yep. Because
not having a sky scale is awful.
Good luck keeping up with a loot phase in like Dragonfall is the big one that I can think of.
Dragonfall is really bad without a
Without a
sky
sky scale.
The good news is there are sky scales hanging around Dragonfall.
Yes.
So you can go and find one, usually pretty close by. But
The
yeah,
other thing I remember is using a glider and Springer to get up cliffs in Dragonfall.
Yeah.
You can do that, but you have to forge your own path, and it's not always obvious.
You
You
do,
can't just follow the pack.
but sky scales are not that fast, as it turns out. So
It's true. Yeah, and a lot of times the Griffin is a better choice because the sky scale is a helicopter, the Griffin is a jet plane.
A jet plane that's losing altitude.
Well, yes.
not that fast.
The other way in which Drizzlewood is like World v. World, but in PvE, is you can get clovers from it.
I
Ooh.
did
And that's
not
nice.
realize that.
Yes.
Okay.
So there are a total of 6 repeatable achievements, one associated with each of the 4 allied groups, and 2 associated with 2 of the enemy groups. And you get commendations, and you can choose which of these 6 the commendations go to. And as you earn commendations, you get rewards. On a reward, it basically works like a World v. World reward track. And the final reward for one of these achievements is a box containing, among other things, 2 clovers. And these are repeatable, so you can just keep rotating them and earning clovers.
Well, they auto rotate too. Like that happened to me. Like I was doing Legion.
If you never
of-
make a choice, they auto rotate. Yes.
Yeah, like I was doing Ash Legion, and I got my final reward, and it rotated to I think steel maybe.
I think there's some other mechanic there, like they apply equally to certain things if you don't choose.
Hmm.
That too. You can if you don't pick a legion for all of them to go to, it'll divide them evenly.
I really need Mystic Clovers, and like that's going to be the thing that
Yep.
potentially gets me back into World versus World because there's a couple tracks that reward a large number of them.
Have you
Nice.
heard about the Drizzlewood Coast reward track?
Yeah, exactly. Drizzlewood Coast and I think Bajora.
I mean, basically,
Those are the 2 best, but
Yeah.
yes.
basically
Once.
every non-repeatable track pretty much it gives at least 7, and the ones out of Icebrood give from 9 up to 14. But
And
these
you can-
are all non-repeatable tracks.
And if you're a glutton for punishment, you can also do it in PvP. Because
I mean,
So
we need PvP potions, so
Yeah.
feel free to do that and throw those potions in the guild treasury.
yeah,
is World v World is the one that gets you the legendary item, is that repeatable?
Yes.
yes, you can
Okay.
do that forever.
Because
Yeah.
that does have some clovers in it as well, right?
It's got
I
2.
think it has 2. Yeah.
Most
Yeah.
repeatable tracks have 2.
I
Yeah,
mean,
you can
and-
have as many gifts of battle as you want.
And I figured gifts of battle aren't bad because, if you ever get into the trading scene, that's one of the harder ones to get a hold of, and people will pay you gold for doing it, and then they'll
Wait,
trade
how?
you the rest of the
Oh,
materials
right.
to craft a legendary for them.
Yeah.
Right. I forgot people did that.
Yep.
I thought they mostly did that for gifts of exploration.
Exploration and battle
They
both.
do that too, yeah.
I think battle's worth 500, exploration's worth 500, and the quote unquote going rate for them.
Makes sense.
Because like they're big time sinks.
They are.
They are. They're both big time sinks. Battle's much shorter most of the time.
Yeah, battle is like 8 hours, whereas I don't know how fast
8
I
hours
could
with
do.
no boosters.
I have no idea how fast I could do a full map completion.
I mean, once you
If you know where everything is and you can get from
and you
heart to
have
heart
mounts.
efficiently, again, mounts.
Yeah,
And
like,
I'm not even talking the sky scale here because that's not even the biggest help.
I only
just like
had the
Raptor and Beetle.
Raptor. I only had the Raptor whenever I did map completion on my Necro. And if I had just had Springer, there were so many places that like I could have broke the map wide open and not had to do anything like real.
I think in order of importance, I'd say probably Raptor, Springer, Skimmer, because Ore is kind of terrible.
The Springer
and the Skimmer makes it
is
trivial.
immensely helpful for getting around Ore.
Or boat.
Yeah, or a skiff.
I got my boat today.
Skiffs
that
are great.
was fun.
You can fish from them.
Yeah, I still don't understand why the hell fishing is so painful anywhere other than Cantha.
Gotta rank it up.
Yeah, they made it more difficult in the other zones. So you'll want to get some fishing mastery,
which you can only really do in Cantha initially.
Yes. And once you've got your fishing mastery ranked up, then you'll get a bunch of additional fishing power from eating some fish. That's the big one. It's like eating one of the fishing foods. Once you have the mastery that goes with it, is 250 fishing power. And then once you've got your skiff ranked up to have fishing party, then you can get a stacking buff from fishing on your skiff.
That's the most hilarious thing to me.
Yeah.
People group up on a skiff to fish better.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
it makes sense.
There's always groups in Party Finder.
Like,
yeah. That's one of the constants is there's always a fishing group.
I mean, ambergris is reasonably valuable. I think it's going for about 2 gold per still.
You gotta have 100 of it to make the legendary. So I pop Leviathan anytime I get a chance, and so far I've lucked into an ambergris on each Leviathan kill. I don't know if it's 100%, but like it's at least something.
I'm amused that you already have multiple Leviathan kills.
Why wouldn't I? You know me and Fates.
I mean, I do, but that's one that requires quite a few people doing the right stuff. I mean, and yes, there are enough people who have boats with depth charges and things now for that to be reasonable.
Right.
That was not the case when I needed it.
Yeah, that is a thing now. Everybody's got depth charge. I'm working on getting depth charge as well, so I can be useful.
Yep. You're gonna need to go back and kill that thing again once you're working on the turtle.
Yeah, I've killed it in 2 different zones too.
Yeah, it can spawn in either Saitong or Kaineng.
So yeah, like Drizzlewood's amazing. Drizzlewood is the best.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I think the zone before is also not bad, although it is a little confusing to figure out. And if you are there with no masteries, it kind of sucks. But once you have the masteries, it's a lot better.
I don't remember which
Biora Marches.
Biora Marches, yeah.
Yeah, I like Biora, Bajora, whatever.
That I think I still think that is like the best zone atmospherically in the game.
As a Norn, I greatly appreciated it.
Like it's very well designed and conveys just a sense of dread.
I was gonna say it is suitably creepy for what's going on there.
I gotta be honest, like for the most part, all of the maps associated with Living World 5 were great.
Are fantastic, yeah. Grothmar was great.
Grothmar's hilarious. It's a great
so
zone.
much fun.
Grothmar is extremely amusing.
You can attend an amazing concert. It's awesome. You should always make sure you have your sound on when you go to the concert because it's actually pretty good.
It's just a little bit grindy it's repetitive with the Dragon Response missions.
No, we haven't gotten to that yet.
Oh,
we haven't gotten to that yet. Okay,
Grothmar Valley is the prologue zone. It's before you actually get to Biora Marches.
Yeah, so basically there's 3 maps for Living World 5.
The
2 of them were released in 2 parts.
Yeah, Biora Marches and Drizzlewood both were released half at a time.
And then, so like it plays out and you actually end up with like multiple chapters in a couple zones. So then you get to the end of Drizzlewood, and the wheels
And
fall
story
off the wagon.
happens.
Like some story happens, but then after that story, the wheels fall off the wagon, and
Oh,
you're going to do 10 dragon response missions in a row.
The final chapter of Icebrood Saga is called Champions, and it is bad.
And basically every dragon response mission is exactly the same. Like they kind of remind me of as repetitive as like the quote unquote raid rifts were in Rifts. We're like it's the same things, just like
I mean-
slightly different.
Yeah, I mean they take place in different zones. The destroyer boss you're fighting, or whatever boss you're fighting at the end, will have different mechanics.
But like they follow a pattern of when you first zone in, you've got 5 minutes, and that's basically matchmaking time. And there'll be 3 objectives that are going on. Usually one that's help some citizens, usually one that's fiddle with a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So like pick up some stuff and return it to a point, and then the other one is kill some stuff.
Kill dudes, yeah.
And you have to get an amount of progress. And I don't know what constitutes gold on that, but like I've never not gotten gold. And I've also usually only ever completed one of those objectives.
Yeah. Basically each of those gives you a stack of a buff that improves your combat stats for the rest of the mission. There are a couple of dragon response missions where you can reasonably complete all 3 even solo. Most of them you cannot.
Yeah.
Most of them you're pushing it to manage 2 of them.
Or if you happen to zone in late and into somebody else's map, like, you just do whatever you can to at least get gold.
But the important thing is if you've got a group, then you can quite reasonably complete all 3 of them and have 3 stacks of the buff.
Yeah,
which
I
speeds
never
things up a little.
I always did publics. I never got a full group.
No,
Almost
no,
always I got another player.
Yeah, no. People aren't running them because
They're
why would they?
not good.
they're not great. There was like a daily dagger response mission thing for a while. I think there might still be that.
There still is. Nobody does it.
But it's not worth doing really.
So phase 2 is always going to be either an escort mission and kill some stuff, or just a flat out kill some stuff around the map. And then
usually you're traveling to a place with one of the Dragon's Watch members and some other NPC. And there'll be some story taking place during that with them like talking to each other and to you. And it's interesting enough story. Like the story beats that are in there are good. They're just surrounded by so much just mind-numbing bleh.
Yeah, like I don't fault the story that was told in each one of these. In fact, like there's characters that are introduced through them that I really like. And then you have a very bullet spongy boss fight.
Yes.
Which is
a boss fight definitely intended for multiple players.
Right. Oh yes. Again.
That said, some of them are not any easier with multiple players.
Right.
Looking at you, Thunderhead Peak.
They all have gimmicks. Like, I mean, it's the traditional thing where like, okay, you burned it like in seconds to the next goal. Now figure out this obtuse mechanic that you're supposed to know. And like you can pretty much catch on pretty quickly what you have to do to make them not be invulnerable again, but like you still have to do it, and then you burn them again, and then it's the same pattern that you've done a bunch of times with champions. And like I thought they were kind of fun for the first 2, but then I realized it's nothing but these for the rest. And like just when I thought, oh well, surely this is the last one. Well, surely this is just the last one. You get the intercom message saying, so and so really needs our help in X Zone.
Yep.
But the ending is really good. It doesn't make up for them, but the ending is really good.
Like the ending meta is cool, and the public version of it is being run regularly, thankfully.
I had already done the public version before I did the story version, and I
Did
really
that make
enjoyed
any sense at all, having not done the story?
Didn't make a bit of sense. I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
Like, why is Bram? Who is what?
Yeah, who are these people? Why are there kaiju? I don't know.
Yeah, now you know.
Yeah, so I would
Yeah,
definitely
that's-
suggest don't do Dragonstorm before you've finished Living World 5.
Yeah.
But the problem is I have that handy dandy trinket that tells me when things are happening. Dragonstorm's one of them.
It's
I'm
funny
still
that it includes
surprised at
Dragonstorm.
that.
Like I get Drakkar because that's technically in the Shiver Peaks, but
Drakkar also
guess-
made 0 sense when I first ran it as well.
oh yeah, I guess the Eye of the North is in Shiver Peaks, so that counts. I don't know.
Yep.
Does it also tell you when the marionette is going to happen?
No, which is weird
That's strange.
because
Maybe
like
they forgot to add it.
I
Maybe.
bet they forgot to add it. Because like I go over there periodically to see if the marionette's happening,
Nobody does it, so
which is sad.
it is.
It's
I'm
a cool
hoping
fight.
I'm hoping it gets, rejiggered a little bit when they move it over into the appropriate season 1 chapter and
You know what?
adjusted so that people actually want to run it,
Put a couple clovers on it. I bet you people run it again.
or an infusion.
Yeah.
When in doubt, add an infusion. It worked for Dragon's End.
Now people are trying to farm the infusion.
Yep.
Your chance of getting this? Basically 0. Essentially 0.
So what you're saying is I need to go run Dragon's
Is
End.
You should.
No.
Yeah, no.
I mean, when you finish the story, yes. But
Is that you should in general you should run Heart of Thorns and metas and Dragon's End.
but this does mean you should also do the Octavine daily and also the Chat Garant.
Chagrant and
Yeah,
Pinata.
I don't have it in me to do all of those daily.
No.
Like I do them at least once a week. I usually do them on Sunday because there's usually kind of a hyper chill group running through them on Sunday. I so far I'm loving Into Dragons. It's really good.
Into Dragons is great. They did a very good job with it.
It's a markable improvement. Like, and that's the thing is, other than the shit show that was the Champions episode of Living World 5, there has been a steady upwards trajectory in all of the content.
Yep.
Like each time I finish up one of these, I think, wow, that was really improved over the previous one.
I mean, based on everything that has been, made public and what people know, so Icebreed Saga was supposed to be, instead of expansions, we're going to do this sort of thing going forward. There's not going to be any more expansions. Like,
And
that was the plan.
Had they kept up the quality of the first 4 parts of that,
Mm-hmm.
I'd have probably been fine with that. Like,
Well, and apparently the sudden drop in quality and the repetitiveness of the final chapter can be at least in part blamed on the fact that that is when they decided they needed to do expansion, and so the majority of developers got shifted over to the new expansion.
okay. I mean, I'm glad we got an expansion, but Lord, is that
Yeah.
an awful experience to have to go through that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
Oh.
on the bright side, we have a new expansion. It was very well received. Guild Wars 2 is apparently like doing better than it has in years, if ever. So the future looks bright.
So that's a whole side conversation that like I kind of want to have. So World of Warcraft since 2008 is down roughly 22,000 monthly active users, or 22 million
Million.
monthly
I was going to say
active users.
million. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Is a
So-
big number.
it's a big number, right?
Mhm.
Like and World of Warcraft has been a shit show. Like it's been in an awful state for the last 4 years. But like I feel like there's a lot of press that has been given to, Final Fantasy XIV, like gobbling up all the WoW players. But like as I'm taking a step back, Guild Wars 2 is thriving. Like
Yeah.
Guild Wars 2 is alive.
Yep.
Star Wars The Old Republic is apparently alive.
Apparently, Lord of the Rings Online.
Lord of the
is
Rings
doing real
Online
well all of a
is
sudden.
hopping, apparently. Like, so you have all these games that most people had written off. And I think once the dam broke of WoW players, like all
They
of
realized,
the
oh, there are other games that I can try.
all of the boats have risen.
Yeah. Yeah, not all of those 22 million people went to Final Fantasy. Like
Right.
they've spread out amongst many games. I think Final Fantasy
I mean,
was
if they went to Final Fantasy in 2009, then I have
that
very
too.
bad news for them.
That too. I think Final Fantasy was, very well positioned to capitalize on, the most recent issues. Like
Right.
they had an expansion coming out at just the right time, and like were actually already thought of as a game that was doing well.
Well, I mean, Elder
But
Scrolls Online is
Mhm.
thriving.
I bet it
Like,
is.
there's
Yeah.
a bunch of games that are doing really well, and like, it sucks for my friends that work on Final Fantasy or not Final Fantasy, World of Warcraft. But like, the downfall of Warcraft has been really good for the MMO industry in general.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of the thing is like WoW always really tried to be a this is the only game you should ever play game.
Yep.
Mhm.
And I don't feel like that is an ethos coming through the other games necessarily.
This is true. Yeah.
There are other games pushing this though.
Mm.
They're just not the games you think of as being MMOs.
Like
Well, like,
Destiny?
Destiny is one, Fortnite
Destiny's
is one.
Fortnite's one.
Mhm. It's true.
These
Lots
games
of
would like to be the only game you play.
lots of mobile games.
The games that have kind of replaced MMOs as the current hotness. Because let's be honest, as big as traditional MMOs are, they got nothing on the mobile side of town.
Right.
Nope.
Like you can look at the most recent like numbers that came out from NCSoft a while back, and they've got it split up between like PC MMOs and mobile, and like it's an order of magnitude difference on the revenue.
Well, I think that's what's made it seem like Guild Wars was a failure is anytime they release those numbers, the scale of the two columns just pushes out anything that Guild Wars 2 has managed to gain.
Yeah, I mean Guild Wars 2 is being compared to like the various Lineage games, and no, it is not bringing in as much revenue as Lineage. It's never going to, but
And I think that's, I mean, like we've kind of talked about this before, but I think that's probably the most damning thing that World of Warcraft did is they changed the scale of what success meant.
Mhm. Yeah,
Because like I have
EverQuest was considered wildly successful,
right.
and then World of Warcraft came along.
I mean, like I was watching a video a while back and they were talking about EverQuest 2, talking about what a failure it was, but it's cranked out like a couple dozen expansions and continued to function, and at the time that game was ideated and released, it was very much a success for the scale it was expecting it to be.
Yeah,
Like it wasn't a wow scale success, but like it was successful.
but it like had more people than the original EverQuest. Like it absolutely did what they expected it to do. It's just that World of Warcraft came along like the month before and completely changed, the entire landscape.
Right. I mean, prior to World of Warcraft, I would have been a day one EverQuest 2 player. Like,
Yeah.
no questions asked. Like, it just would have been a thing. And then, I got into the beta process for World of Warcraft and never really looked back until I kind of got bored with WoW and
hmm
played some EQ2 for a while.
Yeah, I remember at the time, like most of us went with World of Warcraft, and I remember Dalian went with EverQuest too,
Yep.
and I felt bad for him.
Yeah, I'm like I had the same thing. Like there was this whole group of my friends from EverQuest that went WoW, and then there was a handful, like 15 or so, that went to EQ2. And yeah, no, I mean, like it was real bad for them. Like I eventually, it was around, I want to say it was the October of year 2, so October of 2005, I ended up stopping playing WoW for a little bit and playing some EverQuest 2. And I had a lot of fun, but I just kind of had reached a point where I needed a break from WoW.
hmm
But when I did that, I hadn't hit my first 60 yet. Like I still was sub 60 in WoW. I think I was somewhere in the 50s.
Yeah, back when it actually took a while to
Yup.
reach max level.
Had to grind for months.
Yep.
Yeah, because when I left, you could still do the thing where you had a raid group and you could drop out for the moment the boss died and then rejoin the raid group to get kill credit in those instances, like the Upper Blackrock Spire, and then I came back and I was trying to get all that stuff done, and it didn't work anymore, and I was sad. But like I've had really hard time finding some numbers, and I would love to see some numbers to see what kind of improvements all of these games have had during that 2018 to today period.
No one is going to release those numbers.
Right.
Because they don't say 22 million on them.
Right.
Like you can make some educated guesses based on like earnings numbers for the public companies.
Well,
and they're clearly, doing well off of this, but it's hard to really, especially with free to play games, it's really hard to be able to know like, okay, but what does that revenue increase mean as far as like number of players? Who knows?
I think the thing that shocked me the most is Game Ago has actually put some effort into developing a few new things for Rift.
Oh wow!
And I mean, and they're traditionally just the slumlords of MMO games.
Like that's where games go to die.
Right, exactly. Like they take them there and they hook them up to like a siphon and withdraw all the possible revenue and then cancel it.
Yeah.
Well,
but that's apparently like Trove and Rift have both had a smattering of additional development, which like a non-zero amount of development shocks me, because like I expected, like I said goodbye to Rift when they got bought. Like, I mean, it is in the retirement home.
Yeah, like it's like, what, this game is not in maintenance mode? What's going on?
Yeah.
Like I can't help but wonder, like if they'd kept it going a little longer and it was still, extant, like would WildStar be like successful now?
Well, and like I heard the other day that Daybreak is doing additional development on PlanetSide 2.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm not sure that one actually makes sense.
I don't think it makes sense in any world, but like that's a thing.
That's nuts. And I mean, there's new stuff getting released for both Lord of the Rings Online and D&D Online, both of which, like, when the company
never stopped getting stuff released.
Yeah.
I had some friends who've been playing that continuously, basically.
Just when the company that owns it currently owns them, bought them, like, people were not very optimistic. But
I mean, the pandemic has been both good and bad to MMOs. Like, it's been bad in that it's hard to change the paradigm of how things are developed, but it's been really good in that like lots of players have dove back in head first into MMOs. I guess speaking of which, moving on to the next topic, World of Warcraft announced their next expansion.
All right, that happened.
That happened since the last thing. Yeah.
Dragons.
Dragonflight happened, and now
Dragons.
you're gonna have scale sonas.
New zone, dragons. New character class, dragons. New character race, dragons. New mount, dragons.
To be fair,
there already
I'm
dragons?
in support of a lot of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
yes, there were definitely already dragons.
So
but now there's dragons that fly like Guild Wars 2 mounts.
Oh.
Yeah, like basically the new dragon.
But that's not an
now.
improvement over how things fly in WoW.
No, like it's a sky scale now.
So here's my question: will the new zones prevent you from being able to use GM Flight?
Apparently not.
Yes.
Then,
at least for a while, I'm sure.
Wait, then what's the point of the new thing?
yeah,
that was my response. I assumed the new zones were going to require you to use these things, but I've seen people say that no, apparently not. So I don't know.
Yeah,
what is the point?
I mean, you can do pseudo combat with this mount, I think. I don't know.
But yeah, you watch a video of these dragons in flight. They even do the roll thing that sky scales do.
Do they have a wall kick?
I think they have like the flame field landing thing. I don't know if they can wall hug.
Honestly, that's the weirdest thing about sky scales, though.
It is. It's very weird.
I mean, it makes some amount of sense once you have the mastery and can kick off of walls, but until then, it's just a weird thing Sky Skills can do.
Yeah.
Once
it's
you
not
have
really helpful.
Once you have all the masteries and you can use it to climb any wall to infinite height, it's extremely useful.
The new dragon race is weird.
Dragon fear.
I mean, I'm not super into it because it is a dragon race that can only be a new class, and the new class can only be the dragon race. So, and also it's a healer and a caster.
But Bell, I thought you liked casters.
I like melee casters and gun casters.
Fair enough.
Like, you cannot call anything that I do on my necromancer a caster.
Those things you're shooting are definitely not bullets.
I am a gun mage. No, like, I mean, I honestly don't mind Guild Wars 2 casters. I've enjoyed several different versions because I don't necessarily have to be very casterly as a caster.
I mean, you're a Reaper.
Or a Harbinger.
I mean, I've been playing a Mesmer as well, but I'm doing dual swords.
Are you doing it with swords?
Yep. Doing dual swords, which is the least casterly feeling Mesmer ever. I'm a rogue. I'm a combat rogue.
Yeah, you kind of are.
But yeah, like, so I don't know. I mean, the lack of a melee or a tank option kind of makes me not super interested in dragon people. Also, I've played in a bunch of games that I could be a dragon and chose not to be a dragon.
So the new class is either a healer or magic DPS?
Yep. Evoker can be those two things. And they basically blend together the 5 dragon aspects into magic. So, like, their spells do things based on the things that the aspects can do. So, like, the healer gets time and nature, and the caster gets whatever blue is, and arcane and fire.
Life.
Well, yeah, no, they're treating red as pure fire DPS. They're not treating red as the life binder.
Forget?
No, Alex Strauss is in there. So
I mean, I would expect black to be the really DPS one.
I don't know. Like, I know the caster is red and blue and probably black, and the healer is green and gold or bronze or whatever that color is. So can turn back wounds, basically, I think.
Okay, yeah, sure.
But they don't look anything like Draken.
I would ask, could they turn back time on character assassination? But that might be asking a bit too much.
No.
Some things are beyond even dragons.
Man, no, we're definitely, I'm calling it, we definitely fight Alex Straza by the end of this one.
So
almost certainly.
I gotta say, though, like, what I've seen of it seems like they're trying to go down a slightly different path. Like, this is an expansion of exploration. Like, the people that are leading the expansion from the 2 factions are like the Explorers League and those kinds of groups, not the actual military. It seems like they're moving away from the faction warfare thing, which makes sense given that they just made it so you can group freely with both factions. I think it will be a perfectly reasonable expansion, and lots of people seem to be happy, but I was surprised at how little I felt while watching the presentation. Because, like, always in the past, I would end up resubbing to WoW after BlizzCon just because BlizzCon. It wallowed in enough nostalgia to make me want to be nostalgic. And whatever formula is at play with this one is just, I'm not feeling it. I do question if maybe I'm really done.
Yeah.
Because I know my reactions have been vastly different than what I've seen amongst, my Twitters. Because it seems like the core WoW fans seems to be, like, even the ones that were not happy seem to be real happy with everything that they've heard so far for this expansion.
I mean, whatever. You're giving me dragons. That sounds cool. I'm excited about that. If I were into WoW, I would be really excited. I'm not into WoW.
Yeah. I think that's what it just comes down to.
Like
2 expansions in a row that I didn't enjoy have been enough to cycle me out of the hype.
Honestly, the idea of going back to WoW kind of makes me feel awful. It's like the the worst of both worlds, worse storytelling than Final Fantasy XIV with the combat of Final Fantasy XIV I know I hate.
Yeah.
Like getting back into the hot bariest of hot bar combats.
Yeah.
Well, and for a bit, I thought maybe things were starting to turn around on the employment side for
Ah,
Blizzard, but like every time I think that, the well just keeps getting deeper.
No, I am not gonna be.
unfortunately, that seems to be a hole that is yes, that keeps getting dug.
It's a
Yeah.
cavernous maw.
Yeah, so like even if I was super into this, like I don't think I could do it. I missed the hell out of Diablo 3. I just can't bring myself to play it.
Yeah.
In hopefully better news, what is Flowstone Saga?
So once upon a time, there was this game called Puzzle Quest. That was like an
Okay.
RPG
Oh,
and
yeah.
a puzzle game at once.
Yeah, it was a cool game.
And its puzzle game was Bejeweled. Flowstone Saga asks you how this would go if the puzzle game was Tetris.
Okay,
Ah,
I'm on board with this.
And I mention this because I hear it is hitting early access kind of soon. It was on Kickstarter some time ago. It took 2 tries. It was originally up as like Tangle Deep puzzle something. And they look, naming things is hard. So now it's called Flowstone Saga, had a successful Kickstarter, and has been going through some early testing. It is quite fun to play when it works, but early testing.
It is a very alpha build.
Yeah, that's what's available so far.
Okay.
However, they did just update it recently, and I think the build they just updated is going on early access soon-ish. So keep an eye out for that. It seems like it's very good.
I mean, that sounds pretty cool.
This is
I'm
another one
interested.
from the creators of Tangle Deep. So the music is from the excellent Zircon again,
Nice.
along with all of the game design. So yeah, if you like pretty sprite art and excellent music and puzzle RPGs that are based on Tetris, highly recommended.
This sounds like fun.
Speaking of games in early access with sprite art, I am continually amazed at how quickly new things get added to Vampire Survivors and how much stuff there is in there. Like I had played in like a month, and there's like I think 4 new characters and maybe 2 new
Like,
areas.
that is a game that has made a lot of money in spite of being dirt cheap.
It's only $3.
That game has no right to be as good as it actually is.
It does not.
And this seems to have just spurred on the development group to make it like even crazier. So
Like they've added a character whose weapons are like a pair of guns that shoot Ikaruga looking bullets, and then another one who summons cats, and sometimes the cats get in fights, which makes an AOE cloud.
Now I have to ask: is this game based off of Tetris or Tetris Attack?
Tetris.
Okay.
and I love Tetris Attack.
How do you just have to solve a Tetris or continue to stay alive in a Tetris? Because like Puzzle Quest,
Mostly attacking is based on clearing lines.
Okay.
And you may have different equipment that determines. Well, first of all, they don't use the Tetris pieces, and they don't exactly use a Tetris board because trade dress. But they can't copyright falling blocks that clear lines. So here we are.
Okay, so it sounds like what if Tetris Attack actually was a Tetris game? Because it's not. It's a match 3 game.
I mean, Tetris Attack is Panel de Pon. You can actually play Panel de Pon with the original theming on Switch right now.
Yep.
This is actual Tetris.
Yeah, I mean, Tetris
P.S.
Attack is
what
amazing.
the hell was up with the Tetris company anyway? Because Tetris 2 was a game that existed on the SNES, and it's not Tetris either.
I thought there was.
I don't
an
even know what
actual
game that
Tetris
is.
2. I thought there was an actual Tetris 2 on the 8-bit NES. Tetris is a story of licensing nightmares.
I was going to say
Yes.
I don't think the Tetris company actually makes any games. They just license Tetris.
I mean, they don't, but I'm mostly asking about Tetris 2 because, yeah, this was an NES and Super NES game, and it is not Tetris. Like, I guess things come down as Tetrominoes, but you need to match colors instead. It's like a weird Dr. Mario.
Doesn't that one also have bombs in it?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I didn't understand this game when I tried to play it.
I mean, Nintendo spent quite a bit of money marketing it. I remember that.
I mean, it was the killer app for the Game Boy.
The first Tetris
The original
was.
Tetris was, yeah. So,
Makes sense to just stick that name on anything
They
else.
wanted more money. So,
mean-
so Tetris 2 was created before the Tetris company was founded.
Fair enough.
So who even knows?
Published by Nintendo, produced by Gunpei Yoke, developed by Toes, Nintendo R&D 1, so basically the makers of Tetris.
I think everyone will have burned into their brain for life.
Yes.
Some people might even know the actual words. And I mean the actual words, not the ones from that YouTube video.
I mean, they're Russian, right?
Yes.
So another game that had an announcement trailer is the Outriders expansion, which I realize I think Thalen and I are the only ones that this applies to at this point, but
Yeah.
it looks
Think
kind of
so.
cool. That like they're doing something that they desperately needed to do in that, like, so right now there are world tiers of difficulty and expedition tiers of difficulty,
hmm
and they're not really equivalent, but sort of kind of in a few ways are. And mostly it's just confusing.
Yes.
And you reach a point where you can't progress without doing expeditions. And that's kind of where I started to fall off a bit. Because like I was having fun just doing random stuff in the world and bumping up the difficulty level until I could do the next one. But they seem to have unified that and are calling it apocalypse levels. And
Okay.
everything will be the same, like, so you can flip to Apocalypse 3 and do world content, or you can do expeditions. There's apparently raids going into this one. I don't know what they, equate to, but they mentioned some end game content called Trials of some random alien name that I didn't know.
It may say something that the first thing that went through my head was, in order, Mana and Osiris.
Yeah. They're adding an alternate advancement system so that like you gain stat points after a point. There's additional talent trees that are getting added to all the classes that do things to improve the existing talent trees.
I thought the gameplay of that game was cool and could not stand the actual story of it.
Yep, that is the problem.
Mhm.
So the fact that they're adding more story to it as well, I'm not sure. It will probably be something I swallow down just like the previous story was.
Oh.
Because it doesn't seem to be any less bleak.
Oh, good.
Yeah, because you're going to be fighting another altered that is a leader in the horrible group of other humans that are fighting for resources against you because you're also horrible. So yeah, like I don't know. I don't know what the story's going to be. They're introducing a new baddie. Sure.
I have a hard time with the story that like makes it pretty clear that the world would be a better place for everyone involved if humanity had gone extinct.
Yeah. Because like the storm is getting worse. That's basically the tagline here. And
Yay.
and you're going up into the northern wastes where like the storm is freezing everything, and you're trying to figure out like how the original inhabitants of the planet that things happen to maybe were able to control it. So like you're doing research to figure out, well, how the hell did they control this?
Like let's be clear that humanity happened to.
Yeah, humanity happened to them.
Like we could just ask them how they did that if we hadn't. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, spoilers, in the first game, you see that humanity just basically genocided all of the aliens.
Like basically this planet is a living hell because humanity made it that way.
So, yeah, I mean,
wait, is the planet that we so somebody else had shown up on this planet before we arrived.
Yes.
Okay, so
do you want the spoilers?
Do you want the full spoilers?
Might as well just go for it.
Absolutely. This game sounded awful, and I was like, this game is so much fun to play.
No, Kodra, it gets so much worse than you can possibly imagine.
So basically, the story of the game is that like Earth was falling apart due to climate change and corporate malfeasance and just everything.
And sure,
Yeah.
that's where the story kicks off.
And a
Yeah.
giant ark was built to take everybody to a new planet.
Yeah.
And
Two of them were built.
Two
two
of
of them
them
were built. And one of them got blowed up, and the
Yeah,
other
because
took off,
humanity.
leaving a lot of people behind, including the very worst people that would have gone along with, but now there's not room. Well, those very worst people managed to get the other ship working again, and a better engine was developed in the interim, and so they hooked it up with a faster engine, and they got to the planet first, so
Oh
that they
no.
could fuck it up before we got there.
So the signal you're chasing all the time is the distress beacon of the last survivors of those humans because they screwed everything up.
They left after us, got there first, met the peaceful inhabitants, and started, building and working with them. And then basically the leader of this group got just really paranoid and decided that the totally peaceful inhabitants that would not raise a hand against anyone were plotting against humanity, and that their ability to control the storms was actually them doing horrible things. And so he started murdering them and enslaving them, and that led to them basically turning themselves into mindless horrors as their only option to fight back.
Right. Yeah. So they basically became these avatars of war so that they could protect their own people. And, it's not the last level, but it's like one of the last levels. You are literally walking through a concentration camp.
Yeah.
And there are just
Piles.
countless piles
corpses.
of alien corpses.
Holy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like you
Like,
literally walk through gas chambers.
Like literally what I said, the story, this game's story makes it very clear that everything would be better if humanity had ceased to exist.
I really
Yeah.
don't. What's also upsetting is there's also the sub theme of, hey, we're gonna sort humanity into the good humans and the bad humans, and the bad humans are the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and even more, there's special humans that get to do whatever the hell they want
Mm-hmm.
because nobody can stop them. And then there's the average people, and those exist on both sides. And the altereds are horrible. Like all of the altereds are horrible. I mean, I can't say our character is any better. Like
Our character at least manages to continue to think like a normal person, like a really violent, kind of shitty normal person, but a person. Most of the other altered don't. No, it's immensely depressing.
And the thing that sucks so bad is like the gameplay is really good. Like it is one of the most interesting build systems for a looter shooter.
Sure, but they tacked it onto that game.
I know, and it sucks. Like cuz it's this great Diablo meets looter shooter with really complex builds and not dissimilar to some of the build diversity that you can get up to in Guild Wars 2. And then you've got this game that you have to suffer through and forget it exists.
Or don't, which is kind of where I ended up.
Which is where basically most people bounced out of this game. I know Phelan made it through late. Warren made it through. I've run content with both. Tam made it through, but was gritting his teeth to get through. It's just
I got through one zone and was like, I'm out.
I barely made it through the intro and decided that this is not a game for me.
Yeah, like you hadn't even seen the beginnings of the worst.
Well, I distinctly remember my statement on that game was, oh man, it's so cool getting to meet all of these fun characters. Too bad, this one's definitely dead and everything's gonna be terrible. And I had no idea how true that statement was.
Literally one other person out of the intro stuff survives, and he's just so fucked.
Well, there's the worst part is it's there's also like, oh, these characters are so cool. Like maybe some of them will survive. It's like, yeah, some of them do, but they're all awful once you get to know them.
Well, like immediately after you get out of the initial trench warfare area, you meet like a bunch of people who've figured out how to survive in the jungle. And the jungle has the toxic black goop thing that you see in the intro that just like liquefies people basically.
Yeah.
And they figured out a cure. Problem is, the cure requires them kidnapping and killing someone to make the cure.
Dope.
The cure is adrenochrome.
Yeah, basically. So, like, one of your party members gets kidnapped, and they're like, it's for the greater good.
They do a lottery, like straight out of the lottery.
Yep. All the nuance of
God.
a high school classroom reading the lottery.
Oh.
You're not like encouraging me to pick up this expansion.
No. I mean, like, I will absolutely pick it
You're
up.
in fact
because
warning me away from this.
I have this conversation with anybody that's considering the game. Like, it depends on, can you look over the story?
I'm so angry that this is where the legacy of Mass Effect 3 multiplayer is now.
Uh-huh.
Also, that game, very fun. I need to stress, like, I did play it and I really wanted to play more because it's really fun.
Like,
it's just also terrible.
If you could boost and just do the in-game content, it'd be a great experience. Like, it's a fun end game. Like,
Yeah, 'cause
even
the
though
in-game
it's not very deep.
Legendary
like-
didn't.
The in-game content is just like, oh, a beacon has fallen with supplies, and you go get them. And maybe some other people are trying to grab the supplies.
I don't know.
Or
I
maybe
don't
there's
think
monsters.
I don't think I can divorce myself from the
But,
fiction that well.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is you've got to get through all the fiction to get there, and yeah.
And like I want to care about the worlds I'm doing the thing in.
So with this, what I actually feel about this is I'm mad that Legendary Edition didn't include Mass Effect 3's multiplayer.
Yeah.
I feel like EA has to know that people want this thing. So I'm very confused as to why they haven't really made it.
Because they want to figure out a way to make it and get people to pay lots and lots of money.
Let's be clear, they did that already. It was called Mass Effect 3.
It's true. I don't know. Maybe they think that like just remaking Mass Effect 3 wouldn't be enough. I don't know.
I kind of got the distinct feeling that the remaster of Mass Effect kind of started out as a Skunkworks project with like no funding.
That seems about right.
I mean, because BioWare as a company has been kind of downtrodden lately, and I think there was
Just a
like
bit.
a bit of a subversive thing going on where they're trying to like retake their roots. I hope Dragon Age 4 ends up viable. I hope whatever they're doing to continue the Mass Effect series ends up viable. I wish Anthem had been viable.
Yeah.
Anthem was also fun.
Anthem was fun and had a decent. The Anthem had a weird story, is what
Anthem
I
was
remember.
a partial game.
I mean, it was a great Iron Man simulator.
I really enjoyed being the speedy robot.
I liked being the middle one that was the base, could blow things up one, was the one that basically like, mostly focused on detonators. I don't remember what that thing was called.
I don't remember what it was called either. I don't remember what the big giant dude with shield was called either.
Colossus. I remember that one.
I always just called mine the Zero because it reminded me of Zero from Borderlands.
Yeah.
And it's real sad that game's gonna die. I don't know if it has yet or not, but it's gonna get shut off.
Yep. Even if you wanted to keep playing it, you couldn't.
Oh, speaking of things getting shut off, not that any of us have played it in a very long time, but Terra is dying. It is going to get shut off, I think, in June. Not that it was a good game, but
It had merits. That's all I'm going to say about it, though.
yeah, I guess it's officially getting shut off in June at some time. I don't know if the Korean version still exists or not, but
I mean, it launched and unlaunched here previously, so it sounds like it's just a re-unlaunching.
Ugh.
okay. So, what the heck is the difference between Stanley Parable and Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe?
It's Ultra Deluxe.
I mean, the
like,
actual
that's
answer is they
helpful.
remade the entire game, right?
They did remake the entire game. Like
But like, is it still the same game?
It if you replace every piece of a ship, is it still the same ship?
Okay. Does it
It's the
tell
Parable
the
of
same
Stanley.
story?
This is a story about employee 427. Yes, it's.
I mean, I played
What
the
is the
first one.
story of Stanley's Parable?
It makes you cry. It makes you cry a lot.
Does it?
It did me.
Are you thinking of Beginner's Guide?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I'm thinking of Beginner's Guide.
Yeah,
Crap.
you might be thinking of Beginner's Guide, which is decidedly more straightforward than the Stanley Parable.
Okay, I did play Stanley Parable, but like, it's a weird ass game.
Yup.
Yes.
It's probably still a weird ass game.
Yup.
Yeah, like all this time, whenever I've seen this talked about in my head,
You're thinking
I was
of
thinking
the
it was
Beginner's Guide.
Yeah, Beginner's Guide. Yeah, I'm like, why was
That
that
would
remade?
be very different.
No, that would be very different. No, this is the Stanley Parable getting remade.
The part that cracks me up about this was the Guy Fieri and the Steam icon.
Dude, that was so great.
That was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's so it is in fact an entirely new game because it's written in a completely different engine. I didn't realize this until somebody pointed it out to me, but it's written in Unity, not Source, but it's Unity made to look and feel like Source.
Wow.
Yes.
That's
Effort went in.
yeah, that seems like a lot of effort.
Effort went into this. This is not low effort. But also, like, so the Beginner's Guide is is Davey Reedon's kind of reaction to the success of this Beginner's Guide or the Stanley Parable. And I feel like this is also a little bit him still processing his success with the Stanley Parable. I do know I have gotten 2 unique endings, or two not unique, 2 new endings that were not present in the previous version. One was apparently in the previous version there was a bug where you could get out of bounds, and so they kept that bug and they just put a new ending there.
That sounds about right for that game.
It sings a song that they composed for it about how you got to this ending. The song is like one of those things where they had to commission somebody to make a like awful 90s song about this. It's great. I'm pretty sure I've encountered another new ending. I don't actually remember enough of the endings to know what is new or not. But I've found one in which I go out and give a talk about who I am as Stanley to all of my adoring fans. No, it's a weird game. It's very fun.
Can we just talk real quick about how annoying it is when a shark jumps out of the water and hits you when you're on your skimmer?
Oh, yeah.
I'm zooming
Maybe
around
you should be
this
on your
zone.
skiff instead.
Yeah, I'm zooming around this zone, and every so often I have to dodge a shark.
You're in Sandswept Isles, aren't you?
I am.
Yep.
Because I got my rewinder the other day.
Aha.
Because I have to do a bunch of jumping puzzles for the Twilight Precursor.
Yep.
And I want a rewinder so I can have a do-over button.
So that
I consider
rewinder
those jumping puzzles mostly fine.
That rewinder is the best thing I ever purchased.
But I am going to say the volcano jumping puzzle is the worst thing I think I have done in this game so far.
Oh, it's terrible.
I have
Which
cheated
volcano
my way
jumping
to the
puzzle?
end.
Either one.
Yeah, I have cheated my way to the end of the season 3 volcano jumping puzzle.
Which one?
There's multiples?
Yes.
So there's Chalice of Tears in Ember Bay, which is awful. And then there is Hope You Like Blind Jumps and Gliding
I'm
in
talking about,
Draconis Mons.
Draconis Mons is the one. I think I've actually gone to the end of both of them.
Going to the end of Chalice of Tears doesn't do you any good unless you also go to the other checkpoints along the way.
Yep.
I want to say I did Chalice of Tears on my own.
Yeah, Chalice of Tears is long and difficult, but you can at least mostly see where you're supposed to jump next. Like there are cases where it can be, a little difficult to figure out which direction I need to go, but there's none of the you have to jump in a pit and quickly do a complete 180 and then glide around a corner like there is in Draconis Mons. That's just dumb.
Like the jumping puzzle is poorly designed. I think they know it's poorly designed because nothing like it has been created since.
Yeah. I mean, I gather that there was like serious outcry against these when they were put in, and the response from the developer was, "Oh, they're not required for anything. You don't have to do them." The only problem is
Oh,
they are required for a thing now.
They're required for several things now.
Yeah,
Yup.
required
Some
for
purple things.
yeah, 2 purple things. But yeah, the rewinder helps. The rewinder helps a lot with Chalice of Tears. It does not help with Draconis Mons
Because you
because
need to carry around an O-card.
you have to carry an O-card bundle the whole time.
I don't even have a Cart Mastery yet, so I've got to get that. I don't have my grappling hook.
It is required to get through that jumping puzzle legitimately.
Yep. And specifically,
Not only that, you can't waste charges of it either.
yeah, when you pick one up, you get 3 charges, and I think you have to twice pick one up and then use all 3 of those charges to make it through.
No, that's true for the initial one, which sucks.
The very last one, you can waste 1 charge and still be okay.
The only thing that I've done really on my Twilight Collect the Gloom is the Dredge Haunt Darkness puzzle thing, where you have to find
remember
the
that one.
things. Like it's a dark room. You can pick up a torch.
Oh, it's the one of the mini dungeon thing.
Yeah,
Mini
and,
dungeon,
you
yeah.
can throw the torch to see where to go next.
Uh-huh.
I remember having to do that for the backpack. What's it called? Marjorie requires you to get the light out of that room.
Oh, it does. I knew there was something that I had to do that for
I
before.
picked up the
Yeah.
light while I was in there, so I at least have that. That backpack's ascended, right?
Yes.
Sure is. It is the easiest ascended backpack to get a second infusion slot in by a large margin.
Which is good because it's by far the most complicated ascended backpack to get.
I have
At this
so
point,
many
yes.
pieces of it. Like I have my bank is littered with bits and pieces of the stuff you have to collect along the way.
Uh-huh.
I'll be honest, that's my primary motivation to craft it.
Just
Get
get
rid
it
of
the
all that
hell out of
stuff,
your
yeah.
bank.
Yep.
Like I've got pieces to make the pot for the plant. I've got pieces, for the grow lamp now, and
You might want to save that grow lamp thing.
oh, is it useful for something else later?
You need one for the Scars Girl.
Anyways, this commentary about Guild Wars 2 is in fact part of our Stanley Parable segment of the podcast, which does make perfect sense if you've played the Stanley Parable.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yes. Just to clarify.
Yeah.
I did enjoy the part of the game that I've gotten to where they start reading reviews of the original 2013 release of the Stanley Parable. Listen, it's a game I'm playing. I recommend checking it out if you're up for a weird game.
So should I play the original and then play this one?
You don't need to. The good news is there is in fact a door called new content at some point. It's not all of the new content, but there is some new content there. In fact, it does ask you at the start of the game if you've played the Stanley Parable before, so you might have a different experience, but you can also just lie. Lying is also in theme with this game. I felt like an idiot because at the beginning of the game, it asked me to tell it what time it was, and I was like, sure, I'll tell it what time it is, and then I said, wait, no, I'm playing the Stanley Parable. Part of this game is lying to computers. I clearly need to reset and give it some fragrant lie. But are you familiar at least with the core premise of the Stanley Parable?
I mean, I know there's robots.
And
that it's weird.
The absolute most basic premise is you come to a set of 2 doors and you hear a narrator who is narrating the activity say that you go into the left door, and then you get to decide what to do.
I see.
Do you go into the left door? Do you go into the right door?
Like those are your only options.
But at its core premise, it is, I mean, this is a game that is also deeply interested in postmodernism, and very specifically, what is the name of the garden of like many branching paths or something like that? How do you tell a story? Yeah. it's interested in a lot of philosophy, and a lot of philosophy is happening in this game.
I don't know. Like, it always kind of had a "What if the Truman Show and Portal had a kid" vibe to me.
Okay.
Yeah, except, I mean,
Because you're clearly being observed. Like
Well-
you know you're being observed now.
yeah, but okay, on multiple different levels, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because one of the more important observers is you, the player, sitting at the keyboard controlling Stanley. Like, Stanley doesn't exist. That's kind of the core component. Like, neither does really the narrator, but the narrator is supposed to exist more than Stanley? I don't know.
If you haven't played this yet, you might be interested in it. It's weird.
It's super weird. I love it.
I'm
so
not sure if
much.
it's Kentucky Route Zero weird, but it's weird.
The new system does, like, there is some sensitive content, but the new system does have like content warning triggers that you can turn on in the accessibility, which I thought was a nice touch. And it allows you to skip scenes that might have sensitive images that you don't want. Like, mostly what we're talking about is like a character dying or something like that. But yes, ask yourself what you like when you are in a scene. Ask yourself what you could do to frustrate the person who's trying to tell a story, and then you might discover some new stuff. I really love this game. Also, it'll give you context to understand the beginner's guide.
Yep.
I
Your
feel like
This is
this-
another great game.
Like, your
I feel like this
reaction
is
to
a-
Beginner's Guide is going to be entirely dependent upon human being. Because, like, everybody that I have talked to that played through it has taken away something totally different.
Yep.
I feel like this is a game that I'm going to have opinions about, like, due to my experience as a DM.
Probably yes.
Yeah.
What? What can you do to frustrate the guy who's trying to tell a story? Gosh. Where do we start? But also, maybe the person who's part of the story should have some agency. So,
Yeah. And it's got great narration. The narrator is very good. And this one has some great music, which I was not ready for. I do feel like Bell. Have you played the Stanley Parable, Bell?
I have played parts of the Stanley
Okay.
Parable. I have not made it through the Stanley Parable.
I mean, have you? It's really easy to get to an end of the Stanley Parable.
I think
But
I've
yes,
played it for probably 2 hours or so.
You almost certainly got to an end of the Stanley Parable. And considering there is no correct ending to the Stanley Parable, you've beaten the Stanley Parable. You probably haven't done anything nonsense like getting the baby ending, which I have done and is miserable. Did I do it or did I watch someone do it? Either way, it was a miserable. If I might have just watched somebody do it and felt like it was so miserable, I felt like I did it. Yeah, I think that's what happened. I think I watched a Let's Play of it.
Wow,
It's
that bad, huh?
I mean, there is a button. There is a baby constantly moving towards fire. If you press the button, the baby resets. Do this for 30 minutes.
I've watched a video of that piece.
And then the best part is 15 minutes in, they add in a new mechanic where you have to go and press another button periodically just in case you figured out how to script it.
Yep. Yeah. It's like the door that they have now verified was a bug that you had to hit like however many times in Elden Ring to get it to break down. Yet somebody figured out that you could break it down at, what was it, like 50 times? I don't remember what the number was, but it was like an amount that you would have to have been there banging on the wall for a really long time.
Yep. But I recommend checking it out because there is a section that also feels like a slight follow-up to the beginner's guide.
I'm pretty sure I got the ending from obeying the narrator.
Well, yeah. I mean, that is if you are going to say that's what they call the freedom ending. Yeah, the only way to get the freedom ending and to exit the facility is to do exactly what the narrator says and show no free will.
Yeah.
This game's about philosophy.
Right.
Because like before I played with it, like I had been warned that this game is messed up. So I'm like, yeah, I'll just do what the narrator says, and we'll see where this goes.
Yep. It's a very fun game. I'm having fun playing it. It is definitely messed up. It's definitely there to try and provoke some thoughts, and it has already like gotten me to provoke some thoughts. And it's also a game. It is a game that is going to try at least a small amount of your patience and make you ask what you are doing with it. There's a lot you can be doing with it, so don't worry. It's not a straightforward story though.
Since we're kind of running short on time, I have one really quick thing. Moon Knight is amazing. You should be watching Moon Knight.
Moon Knight is amazing.
I have not been, but I will try and catch up.
Halo is shockingly good. I went into Halo knowing next to nothing about the game, and from what I understand, that's perfectly fine because the show isn't really following the game anyway.
Is it about the stuff before the game?
I don't know. The thing
Fair
is,
enough.
like, I've talked to a couple of people that are big time Halo fans and lore aficionados, and they're like, I don't know. This might be prequel events. Because like when you first meet Master Chief, he doesn't have Cortana yet.
I mean, Master Chief and Cortana have not always been on the same page.
But in the first game, didn't he have Cortana?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So, like, this is before Cortana was, we'll say, given to him, for lack of a better term. But it's interesting. Like, it's actually, I mean, not knowing anything about Halo hasn't harmed my enjoyment of the game or the show. But like, I would say, as a sci-fi series, it stands on its own, regardless of the IP. And then mid-month, next month, or this coming month, we have Obi-Wan.
Yeah, I'm curious.
I don't know what that's going to be.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I mean, Ewan McGregor's cool, so
The Grand Inquisitor bugged me,
cautiously
though.
optimistic. I don't know. I'm mostly excited for Doctor Strange.
Yep. I am ready for Doctor
Even though
Strange.
Even though they apparently renamed Shumagorath, and I get it.
To what and why? I guess I kind of understand why, but to what?
Yeah, to Gargantos, and because the name Shumagorath originates in like old Conan stories. So presumably they are not certain if they really have the rights to use it or not, but it's clearly Shumagorath.
What is? I
have to admit, I'm only familiar with that character from Marvel vs. Capcom.
I mean, that's where most people are familiar with him. Like, if you read the old Doctor Strange comics, you would have run into him maybe. And he's effectively a great old one. He's a Cthulhuid monstrosity who takes the form of a ball of tentacles with a big ol' eye in the middle.
I would be nervous about this, but they made what's the eldritch abomination from the first one work?
Dormammu.
Dormammu, yeah.
Well, and I don't think Shumagorath is like the big bad or anything. Like the impression from the scene that they gave us is this is a fairly early on in the movie, like a fight with Shumagorath. But
isn't America Chavez in that one?
Yes,
that scene,
because it looks like the reason, well, Gargantos, whatever, Shumagorath is here is because it's chasing America Chavez.
Yeah.
Who's America? Okay, I don't know. And I honestly, the pandemic has done terrible things to my ability to like keep up with anything Marvel.
She is a badass Hispanic teenager from an alternate dimension with two moms who kick star-shaped holes in reality.
Oh, okay.
She is awesome.
She's a great character. Like, the main reason why I am so ready for Doctor Strange is like part of what kept the previous phases of the MCU going is we were building to something.
Mm-hmm.
And right now it feels like there's a bunch of scattered things, some plot threads, but like we really haven't pushed the ball down the hill yet. And I think this
does
movie
seem
is
where they're
going to
coming
push
together.
Right.
Yeah.
Like this is the movie where we begin the ball rolling down the hill.
Yeah, because this appears to be like dealing with the thing set up by WandaVision and Loki and No Way Home.
Right.
Which I have not seen Loki yet.
Loki.
Or no, I've not seen No Way Home yet.
No Way Home is really good. I finally watched
It
it now
is-
that it's out on Blu-ray.
It is maybe my favorite Marvel movie.
It did an amazing job of being a movie with multiple supervillains in it and not failing miserably the way so many do, and B,
Honestly, that's impressive by itself.
yeah, like I think mostly the reason it succeeded is because they're all supervillains who we've already met. These are all extant characters.
Right. We didn't have to do the origin story of the supervillain again.
Yeah, like we got little reminders of, mostly joking is like, oh, I fell in Nevada eels. Oh, I fell in like radioactive sand. And it did an amazing job of giving closure to previous things while still being very much its own story.
Yeah.
And it sets up a Spider-Man status quo that I really, really hope that Tom Holland does decide to make some more Spider-Man movies.
Is it Tom Holland's decision or is it Sony's decision?
It's Tom Holland's decision.
Oh, because I thought it was.
It sounds very much like Sony would very much like to make more Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland.
They've been so successful at this point that, like,
Yeah,
I think it's his role to lose if he chooses to.
Yeah.
So are they? I thought this was the last where it was like part of the MCU.
No.
I thought there was a Disney and Sony weren't playing nicely together anymore.
Well, yeah, and then Disney bought Sony, or at least bought the properties from Sony.
Oh, I did not realize that actually happened.
Yeah, no, that happened.
Wait, so is Morbius part of that?
Wait, are you thinking Sony or Fox, Bill?
Fox, sorry.
Yeah, no.
No.
Sony still has the Spider-Man rights, but I mean, no.
Yeah, sorry, I was thinking Fox.
It's still the MCU as of the end of that movie, and like,
I just
plenty of people have said they like Sony is planning to make more Spider-Man movies. It's just a question of like what they end up being.
They've done enough. They've dropped enough plot threads that make it seem like we are not done intermingling the Fox universe and the MCU.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they like money, big bags of money.
I am still unclear on like, because there's multiple partners. There's definitely Fox, which is all of the mutants.
X-Men and Fantastic Four, that's no longer an issue. Disney bought it all.
Yeah, Disney bought them, but I'm not clear on Sony.
Sony still has the rights to Spider-Man and related characters.
And
yes.
I thought they were interested in doing things on their own.
I mean,
I don't think it's a good decision.
They might have said that.
I mean, the thing they did on their own last time was Spider-Verse, and that was great.
It
was great. They are interested in more Spider-Verse, and that is their thing on their own.
But the most recent thing they did was Morbius, and it didn't do great at all.
But they've also done Venom, and that's been apparently pretty good, and that's not...
Define good.
Venom has made money.
Yeah,
sure.
But I wouldn't call it good.
But it hasn't made Marvel movie money.
Maybe that's fair.
The Spider-Man movies make Marvel movie money.
Yeah, I mean, like, the thing is honestly, Morbius and Venom both were perfectly fine movies.
They're perfectly fine, and they're like, and Venom turned a profit. I expect Morbius to ultimately turn a profit.
Yeah, I mean, neither were great movies, but I mean,
and apparently Sony has now announced they're going to do El Muerto, which that's a deep cut. Like, this is, I mean, it's technically a Spider-Man character. He's not well known. That said, I would love like a modern El Santo style character. Like, that would be amazing. But he should be played by an actual luchador if they're going to do that.
Yes, please.
Have we seen any of the new characters like show up as cameos yet? I'm thinking Shang-Chi or the Eternals.
I mean, we haven't seen any of the Eternals characters show up yet, but I mean, that's so far Spider-Man's the only place that they could have. So
I mean, Doctor Strange would
they
be the
very
next
well.
place that some of that could happen.
I wouldn't be surprised at all to possibly see one of the characters in, and also there's Blade in the works, and I would kind of be a little surprised if the Black Knight did not appear in Blade.
Yeah, I absolutely think Black Knight is going to feed
I-
into the either Dark Avengers or
I kind of wonder if they're like trying to set up MI13, which would be amazing. Let me be
See,
clear.
I
I would
think
love
they're heading.
that.
I think they're headed to Midnight Suns.
Yeah. But like you put Blade and the Black Knight in the same room, and the first place my brain goes to is MI13. Everybody forgets Blade is British.
Because he was played by Wesley Snipes.
Uh-huh.
I'll be honest, I don't know about Blade other than Wesley Snipes.
Blade has had a real weird history in Marvel comics.
Wesley Snipes was really good as Blade.
He was. And post Wesley Snipes Blade, like, definitely draws from that character, from his take on it. But I wondered, like, they're clearly setting something up there, and then I'm still convinced they are setting up Thunderbolts.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
They are setting up Young Avengers.
Yeah, because most of the Thunderbolts team and the Young Avengers team have been already in play, or will be in play soon.
Like, my theory on Young Avengers is that instead of Iron Lad being the younger version of Kang the Conqueror, trying to avoid being a villain, I think it's going to be Tony's daughter come back from the future. Yeah. But that's literally like the only member of the team that hasn't been introduced at this point.
The only other thing I know about Blade is there is a great meme which is like the text from the Avengers with people being like, so we're all done with Avengers business, does anyone else have anything to discuss? It's like, are any of you going to help me with killing these vampires? Please, there are so many of them.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's an edit of a panel, but that's also not too far off of like relatively recent events when Blade was a member of the Avengers for a while, because Dracula founded a vampire nation at Chernobyl.
Oh, great. Radioactive vampires.
Yes. Blade was not happy about this.
No, I imagine not.
This ultimately ended up with Blade becoming the mayor of Vampire Town. Not mayor, sorry, sheriff. Sheriff of Vampire Town.
So
they got to deal with Dracula.
The conspiracy that I want to be true is that we're working towards bringing in Werewolf by Night.
I mean, they've said they're doing Werewolf by Night,
but
they've said they are, like as a Halloween sort of thing.
Okay, because in Moon Knight, like if you scan the QR codes at various points, a couple of them have been Werewolf by Night issues where Moon Knight fights Werewolf by Night.
Yeah, well, that's Moon Knight's first appearance, so I mean that could just be because of that. But yeah, but no, they've said they're doing Jack Russell. Like, and one of the things that I love about the current phase of Marvel is that we finally reached the point where we can have magic and not need to have some, oh, it's alien technology explanation for it. Like, it's just magic. Like, could it be science we don't understand? Sure, maybe, but we're like, it's just magic. Don't worry about it.
It's also magic.
There's an Egyptian god with a bird skull for a head, and he gave this dude the power to summon a magic suit that makes him strong and heals him. Like, I guess the guy could be an alien. He says he's a god. Does it really matter which he is? We're not going to worry about it.
I mean, Thor might be an alien, but he also says he's a god.
Yeah.
Actually, does Thor ever say he's a god? No, Thor just is always specifically a Asgardian.
He's an Asgardian, yes. Yeah, they were kind of like that. Those early elements, like they were always very careful to be like, oh, it's alien technology. The Dark Elves have spaceships and laser guns, and the Asgardians just have fancy tech. But
it does make me wonder how specifically they're going to treat Zeus in Love and Thunder.
Yeah,
I'm really excited for Love and Thunder, though.
Love and Thunder looks fantastic.
Yeah.
We should probably try to wrap things up for the dust.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like, I was gonna say two things quick, and then it snowballed.
Nothing is quick.
Okay.
I also
Well-
am slightly disappointed that at no point in Moon Knight did we get Stephen Grant saying random bullshit go. But oh well.
Incidentally, I'm also claiming this Marvel section for our Stanley Parable discussion.
It is.
Sure.
This is part of the Stanley Parable discussion. Okay. Well, hopefully you enjoyed the show, and pending any tornadoes, we will see you again next week.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See ya.